You? College? Maybe community, but engineering? The class laughed. Mrs. Wexler didn't stop them. I'm Marcus Ellison, 45, founder and CTO of Ellison Robotics, 328 employees, 6 government contracts, and a waiting list of clients that stretches into next year. But back then, I was just a quiet kid in the back row with a mechanical pencil and too many ideas. Cincinnati, 1998, room 204, Algebra 2 with Mrs. Wexler. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like dying insects. Someone had broken the projector again, so we were doing the career day exercise the old-fashioned way, going around the room, sharing what we wanted to be. The clock ticked, 2:15 p.m. Jason wanted to be a doctor like his dad. Stephanie was thinking lawyer, maybe corporate. Trevor was headed for his football scholarship, just needed to keep his C average. Mrs. Wexler nodded at each one, occasionally offering a good choice or that suits you. Then it was my turn. Mechanical engineer, I said, not looking up from my notebook where I'd been sketching joint designs instead of solving for X. MIT if I can swing it. The room went quiet for exactly 3 seconds. You? College? Maybe community, but engineering? Mrs. Wexler's voice had that special tone she reserved for wrong answers. Only this time, it wasn't about math. Laughter rippled through the room. Not everyone, just enough. She let it continue for 8 seconds. I counted. Not everyone has to be an overachiever, she said to the class, not to me. Trade school's fine. The world needs plumbers too. More laughter. I closed my notebook, looked her in the eye. We'll see. That was it. 3 syllables. Mrs. Wexler was 50-something, hair always pulled back too tight, smile never reaching her eyes. Former engineer at GE, rumor had it, left to teach 15 years ago. Nobody knew why. You could track her favorites easily enough. Tyler, whose dad was on the school board. Caroline, who brought her coffee without being asked. The 3 guys from varsity basketball, who never turned in homework on time, but somehow always passed. The rest of us were just furniture. Marcus, come solve this one, she'd say whenever there was a particularly difficult problem. Not because she thought I could, because she was certain I couldn't. When I got it right, she'd find something wrong with my method. That's not how I taught it. I'd notice things, how she'd check her watch when I raised my hand, how my papers had more red marks than others' C's, how she'd interrupt me but let others ramble. Small things, almost invisible. Had I ever been disruptive? No. Had I ever failed a test? No. I was just there. Until I wasn't supposed to be. After class, I walked home alone. 8 blocks, past the community college she thought would be my ceiling. Did I tell my parents what happened? No. Some humiliations you keep to yourself. The next morning, I filled out a form to switch lunch periods, the only class change available mid-semester. I avoided her in hallways, stopped raising my hand in class. For the remaining 7 months of senior year, I never spoke to Mrs. Wexler again. Not one word. I didn't need to. Time would do the talking for me. What I didn't know then was how loud silence could be when you wait long enough. Sometimes life hands you perfect moments when you're not looking for them. 28 years after that day in room 204, I sat in my office at Ellison Robotics. Pittsburgh skyline outside my window, 11:42 p.m., late but normal hours for me. The building was empty except for the night security guard and the cleaning crew. Quiet. Just how I liked it. I was reviewing applicant files for our new business development position. Standard procedure, I checked the final candidates personally. Not because HR is incompetent, but because people are the foundation of everything we've built. Then I saw it. Wexler, Adam Bisa, in business administration. Minor in political science. My finger stopped scrolling, just paused there on the trackpad. Wexler isn't exactly a rare name, but something made me click. Something made me look closer. No reaction crossed my face. Not a frown, Not a smile, just a decision. Background check. I started with public records. Simple searches that anyone could do if they knew where to look. Mrs. Caroline Wexler had retired from Cincinnati East High School 3 years ago. 32 years of service. A quiet retirement party at the Marriott. Local paper covered it with 2 paragraphs and no photo. Interesting footnote. 2 complaints had been filed against her by minority students claiming discriminatory grading practices, both closed without formal investigation, both sealed by administrative decision. Some patterns never change. I dug deeper. Adam Wexler, age 26, her only son. His resume claimed he'd interned at Deloitte for a summer, listed himself as project lead on a client initiative that, according to LinkedIn, had 16 people working on it, all of them more senior. His degree came from Westlake Online Business College, not accredited until his final semester, ranked somewhere in the bottom tier of distance learning programs. 5 jobs in 4 years, none lasting longer than 11 months. A reference list full of job titles but suspiciously light on contact information. Was I being thorough? Yes. Was I being fair? Absolutely. I watched his video interview from our first screening round. I specialize in leveraging synergistic opportunities across verticals to maximize stakeholder value while minimizing friction points in the customer journey. Words without substance, jargon without knowledge. He name-dropped a defense contract that had been in the news, claimed he'd consulted on similar initiatives, mentioned a project in Austin that our competitor had just announced, said he had significant input on the planning phase. Either he was exaggerating or he was lying. There's a difference. The next morning, Aisha walked into my office with coffee, black, 2 sugars. Same as college. Aisha Singh, my COO and oldest friend. We'd been roommates at MIT. She knew every chapter of my story, the before, the after, and the climb between them. She noticed the file open on my screen. "You know this kid?" she asked, nodding toward Adam's smiling LinkedIn photo. I took a sip of coffee. I knew his mother. She made a bet once. I'm just seeing how it plays out. Aisha understood immediately. No explanation needed. That's why we'd been friends for 25 years. Want me to check further? I nodded once. That was Tuesday. By Thursday morning, Aisha was back in my office. This time, no coffee, just a tablet and that look she gets when she's found something significant. "You need to see this," she said, sliding the tablet across my desk. Adam's full application package was open. She'd highlighted a section on page 4 of his resume, work history, prior year. Consultant, Ellison Robotics, 202-32024. Provided strategic guidance on market positioning and client acquisition strategies. Contributed to neural navigation framework development. I read it twice. "He never worked here," I said quietly. "No," Aisha confirmed. "He didn't. I've checked every contractor, every consultant, every temporary badge issued in the past 18 months. Nothing." The room went still. "He forged employment history with your company to get a job at your company. Of all the doors he could have knocked on, what are the odds?" I looked at his mother's son's face on the screen. Same tight smile that never reached the eyes. Same certainty that rules were for other people. "Do you want me to just reject him now?" Aisha asked. I closed the file, straightened a pen on my desk. "No," I said. "Actually, I'd like to interview him personally." Aisha raised an eyebrow. "We always follow procedure," I continued, "even when it's inconvenient, even when shortcuts might be easier." She nodded slowly, understanding completely. "Schedule him for tomorrow, last appointment of the day. Some lessons aren't taught in classrooms. Some take longer to deliver. Friday afternoon, 4:30 p.m., the time when most people are watching the clock." My office was deliberately minimal. 1 desk, 3 chairs, a view of Pittsburgh's industrial district, no family photos, no diplomas on the wall, nothing personal except a single model of our first successful robot arm in a glass case. Adam Wexler arrived 7 minutes early. Press suit, hair product, too much cologne. Rebecca from HR brought him in, then quietly left. I stood, offered my hand. Mr. Wexler. Marcus Ellison. His handshake was firm but sweaty, practiced like everything else about him. Sir, it's an honor to meet you. I've followed your company's growth for years. The first 5 minutes were standard interview protocol. Background questions, career goals, why Ellison Robotics interested him. He spoke with rehearsed confidence, maintaining steady eye contact, almost too steady. I believe my experience in strategic positioning would be valuable to your business development team, he said, leaning forward slightly, especially as you expand into commercial applications beyond defense contracts. I nodded, making a note, not writing anything, just watching his eyes track my pen. 23 minutes in, I set my notepad down. The moment had arrived. Your resume is quite impressive for someone your age, I said, keeping my tone neutral. I'm particularly interested in your work with us last year. His expression didn't change, not even a flicker. Could you walk me through what you built with us during that time? The trap was set. Simple, clean, unavoidable. Adam shifted in his chair and cleared his throat. Of course. I was primarily consulting on the neural nav framework. There it was. The neural navigation framework, I repeated slowly. That's interesting. I let 3 seconds of silence pass. Just enough for discomfort, not enough for panic. You'd need Department of Defense clearance to work on that project, which you don't have. His face froze, a micro-expression of shock behind the practiced smile. What I meant was... I held up my hand, just slightly. The neural navigation framework is a classified project. Its existence isn't public knowledge. Another 3 seconds. Mr. Wexler, you never worked here. The color drained from his face, from confidence to confusion in 8 seconds. There must be some misunderstanding. There is no misunderstanding. You falsified employment history to secure an interview. You claim to have worked on classified defense technology you've never seen. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. Our interview is concluded. I pressed the intercom. Rebecca, please escort Mr. Wexler out. He stood, fumbling with his portfolio case. Mr. Ellison, if I could just explain, we document all employment fraud attempts as a matter of company policy. Security will return your visitor badge at the lobby desk. Rebecca appeared at the door. Professional smile. This way, please. After they left, I sat alone for exactly 5 minutes. No emotion, no satisfaction, just planning the next steps with the same precision I'd use for any other project. Monday morning, 9:15 a.m. HR's system had already processed the formal fraud flag. Melissa Chen, our head of security compliance, knocked on my open door. The Wexler case is flagged in all systems. Standard protocol. I nodded. Good. Just FYI, this automatically propagates to the shared defense contractor database. As it should. She hesitated. You know what that means, right? He's basically blacklisted from any high-safety employer, government adjacent or otherwise. I'm aware of how the system works. She nodded and left. By Tuesday, I had instructed legal to prepare one more document, a conditional offer letter with specific language requiring full and complete disclosure of prior employment and consulting relationships. Was it necessary? No. Was it thorough? Yes. Aisha watched me sign it from across my desk. You're sending him an offer? Conditional, I clarified, with specific disclosure requirements. The letter went out Wednesday morning, express delivery. Adam signed it Thursday afternoon, notarized as required by the fine print. Another piece on the board. Another line of documentation in his own handwriting. Aisha reviewed the returned document. He's doubled down on the lie, In writing now. She tapped her finger on the desk. You want to press charges? I shook my head. No, this is just a reminder. Of what? I didn't answer. Some questions explain themselves in time. Friday evening, 7:42 p.m. A final step remained, an anonymous tip, sent through our legal firm's ethics compliance system, reached Westlake Online Business College's accreditation office. Attached, Adam's resume, his signed conditional offer, with its false disclosures, documentation of his claims about classified defense projects. Subject line, potential degree integrity issue, confidential review requested. 3 days later, Westlake's system flagged Adam's degree for internal review. No confrontation, no raised voices, no emotional satisfaction. Just the quiet movement of systems designed to protect integrity, the kind of systems his mother never respected. I closed my laptop at 10:30 p.m. Cincinnati was 200 miles away, but suddenly felt much closer. Some lessons take 28 years to deliver. Systems have their own momentum once set in motion. 2 weeks passed. I focused on actual business, our new government contract, the partnership with Carnegie Mellon, the prototype that was finally showing promise after 18 months of development. Adam Wexler became background noise, a small task completed, until Aisha walked into my office with her tablet again. Thought you might want to see this, she said, sliding it across my desk. Adam's LinkedIn profile showed a pending internship with Raytheon. Starting next month, his status update had proclaimed 3 weeks earlier. Now it showed, seeking new opportunities. The internship had been rescinded. No explanation given publicly. But I knew why. The Defense Department alert system is thorough, automated, impersonal. It doesn't care about feelings or second chances. It simply flags potential security risks and shares that information with approved contractors. One small lie amplified by algorithms designed to protect national interests. I handed the tablet back. No comment needed. Did I feel anything? Maybe, but not what you'd expect. Not joy, not satisfaction, just the quiet confirmation of natural consequences following their course. Exactly 1 month after our interview, a formal letter was sent to Caroline Wexler's home address in Cincinnati. Not from me, not from my company, from the Defense Industry Compliance Office. Standard protocol for close relatives of flagged individuals. Due to a falsified work claim, your son is ineligible for federal contracting work. The source has requested anonymity. No details, no path to appeal, just the cold reality of systems working exactly as designed. Did I arrange this specifically? No. Did I prevent it from happening? Also, no. I never spoke to Mrs. Wexler. Never contacted her, never even searched for her phone number. Some messages don't need a messenger. The university acted next. Westlake Online Business College couldn't afford another accreditation issue. They'd had problems before. Adam's case became a priority for their review board. They didn't announce their investigation publicly, but suddenly, the verification system that employers use to confirm degrees started returning pending review when his credentials were checked. Another small pressure point. Another system doing its job. 3 days later, something unexpected happened. Kerrigan Aerospace, a mid-size private contractor, posted a message that began circulating in industry forums. To the candidate who falsified consulting work with a major competitor, integrity is non-negotiable in our field. We withdraw our consideration and have informed relevant parties. They didn't name Adam. They didn't have to. Industry people connected the dots, shared the post, added their own comments about ethics and trust. I didn't participate, didn't need to. Others were doing the work without my involvement. That's the thing about systems. Once properly aligned, they require no further input. Adam's digital footprint began to shrink. First, his LinkedIn profile went private, then inactive. His Twitter account disappeared. His industry forum memberships lapsed. Digital ghosting, the modern equivalent of leaving town. After 6 weeks, the only trace of Adam Wexler in our professional ecosystem was a dormant Indeed profile that hadn't been updated in 47 days. Was it fair? Yes. Was it proportional? Absolutely. He lied about classified defense work. He forged employment records. He doubled down when caught. Every consequence flowed naturally from his own actions. The system worked exactly as it should. 7 weeks and 3 days after our interview, Aisha sent me a screenshot. Caroline Wexler had posted on Facebook, "The world is too hard on young men these days. Mistakes should be learning opportunities, not death sentences." 0 likes, 0 comments, 0 shares. The algorithmic equivalent of speaking to an empty room. I closed the image, went back to work on the prototype. Did I want her to know it was me? No. That would make it personal, emotional, small. This wasn't about feelings. It was about systems and their natural function, about integrity and its absence, about actions and their consequences, precisely what she failed to teach her son. The symmetry wasn't lost on me. 6 months later, I stood in the back of Cincinnati East High School's auditorium. The space hadn't changed much in 30 years. Same wooden seats, same scuffed stage, different principal at the podium. "Today marks a significant step forward for our science and technology program," she was saying. "The Ellison Robotics Advanced Engineering Laboratory will provide opportunities our students have never had before." Polite applause from parents and board members, genuine excitement from the students in the front rows. I hadn't wanted to attend. PR had handled the donation arrangements, $1,200,000 0 cents for equipment, curriculum development, and teacher training. My presence wasn't necessary. But something pulled me back. Something unfinished. I stood against the wall. No introduction, no recognition. Just another adult in a suit, watching the ceremony. 3 students demonstrated the first robotic arm the school had ever owned. A simplified version of my company's industrial model, designed for education, not manufacturing. Their enthusiasm was real, unfiltered, the kind that hasn't been rejected yet. A teacher approached during the demonstration, mid-30s, glasses, curious expression. "Are you from Ellison?" he asked quietly. I nodded. "Were you ever a student here?" A logical question, given the donation. Another nod. He extended his hand. "Jason Fenton. I teach advanced math and the new engineering track." The name on the plaque. Room 204. After the ceremony ended and the crowds dispersed, I found myself walking the familiar hallways. Muscle memory guided me past the cafeteria, past the gym, up the stairs to the 2nd floor. Room 204. Dark now, empty. The door was unlocked. I stepped inside. New desks, new technology, but the same windows, overlooking the same football field, the same ceiling tiles, slightly yellowed with age. A plaque beside the door read, "Mr. Fenton's Math Lab." No trace of Mrs. Wexler remained. Not a photo, not a mention, as if those 32 years had been erased. Systems replace people. Time replaces memories. I reached into my jacket pocket, took out a folded paper, worn at the creases from being opened and refolded too many times over too many years. Algebra 2nd quarter exam. Grade C. Her red pen marks covered my solutions. Incorrect approach, not as taught. See me after class. Every answer had been right. Every method unacceptable. I walked to the trash can beside the teacher's desk, held the paper over it, then stopped. Instead, I moved to the corner where a ceiling tile had always been loose. 30 years ago, students would hide notes there sometimes, secret messages for future classes. I slid the tile aside. The hidden space was still there. Carefully, I placed the folded quiz inside. Not to preserve it, not to erase it, but to bury it inside the system that had once tried to bury me. No words needed saying, no posts needed making, no triumph needed declaring, just a quiet completion of a circle. I replaced the tile, left the classroom, walked out of the building into the spring afternoon. Behind me, 24 students would begin the engineering program next semester. Students who would never hear "you can't" from teachers empowered to encourage them. Ahead of me, the company waited, the contracts, the innovations, the future. Mrs. Wexler was probably at home right now, 10 miles away. We would never speak, never acknowledge each other, never revisit that moment 28 years ago when she made a careless bet on my future. Some debts repay themselves, you just have to wait long enough to collect the interest.